Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 17th episode of DUExplorers. For those of you who are new here, either watching out there on Twitch or on YouTube, DUExplorers is composed of a group of fans that came together from the Dual Universe forums to discuss the latest news about the game every week. We talk about everything from news shared on NovaQuark's social media pages to hypothetical mechanics. Mostly, especially, we muse about what we want out of the game and let our imaginations run wild with the possibilities. Of course, with that being said, we want to remind everyone that our opinions expressed on the show are our own, and in no way affiliated with NovaQuark or anyone employed by NovaQuark. Now to your host, Yamamushi.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Who do we have here tonight? We got some new people tonight. Master Eclipse and Mac 131. How are you guys?
Pretty good, thank you.
I'm doing quite well, thank you.
Cool. Of course, we have Cayman, Master Red, Thor, Wattinson. Wattinson, is that how you say that? And Wilkes.
Hello.
Thor, did I say your name right?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it's Wotenson. It's, something like that.
Wotenson.
Know your own name.
It's ancient Norse. Nobody speaks that.
That point.
Except maybe in Iceland. I don't know.
Well, you gotta own it. Anyways, how is everyone tonight? How was everyone's week?
Pretty
Exhausting.
good.
Quite lovely.
Not bad.
So anyway, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Let's see. Well, I guess before anything, we are heading into this time where we're going to be lacking some content. They did warn us that this would happen. That Kickstarter was going to be the cycle where we were going to get a ton of content and screenshots and videos and everything. But now that we're heading towards alpha, this is the beginning of the road towards alpha. We are going to be getting less and less updates. I don't know if updates is the right word. We're going to be getting less screenshots and less in-game footage and everything. I imagine as we approach alpha, that may pick up a bit, but I can't say one way or another. And with that being said, it sounds like that we will be getting a contest here coming up pretty soon. Within the next week, I think. I know some details about the contest, but I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't spoil anything coming from NovaQuark's side. But I will say that it sounds like there's going to be a writing contest coming up, kind of coinciding with NaNoWriMo, which is a contest that takes place every November. It stands for National Novel Writing Month. And the requirements for NaNoWriMo are that you write a 50,000 word novel in 1 month. And if you win, then there's no grand prize that's given out by NaNoWriMo for winning, other than bragging rights of saying that you did it. But I thought that maybe it would be cool if there would be a writing event centered around Dual Universe. And so I was talking to Nizeltar about this, and so I got approval to basically I wanted to run this contest, or at least organize an event on the forums, and so I got approval that yes, it would be okay for me to do that, and then they said that they might pick up on that and run a contest of their own. So as to the prizes that they would give away, I'm not going to say what they are. I'd rather they say what they are, but they are going to be some really freaking awesome prizes that I can't win, seeing as how I am also giving away some prizes. It wouldn't be right for me to win prizes out of the contest. I'll be giving away some keys to some video games, not Dual Universe. I don't think I'm allowed to really give away Dual Universe related things quite yet. But I will be giving away keys for some video games. Let's see. for my submissions of prizes to the contest, it's going to be 5 keys to Empyrean. It's going to be 4 keys to Pulsar, the Lost Colony. There will be 2 keys for Osiris New Dawn. There will be 2 keys for Space Engineers. There will be 2 keys for Hack Mud. There will be a key for Rimworld, and there will be a key for Factorio. So, yeah, with that being said, what do you guys think?
I feel sorry
some
for you,
stuff.
Yama. Not being able to enter.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait to
King
write up a
skills
story.
whatsoever.
So the stories will have to be centered around Dual Universe. But, I mean, there's no lore guidelines that have been released yet. That's also something that I believe may be forthcoming to coincide with maybe the contest announcement.
Didn't they specify a date potentially on that, Monday or Tuesday?
Well, Tuesday is a holiday in France. It's a national holiday. I don't know what holiday it is. Does anybody know?
Nope.
No idea.
You lying, do you?
Well, that says a lot about our knowledge of French culture.
We are not strong in Google Foo, I take it.
No, we're just emphasizing American stereotypes for those of us who are American here.
Yeah, we don't know anything about any other countries. Anyways, so Tuesday is November 1st. It will be a holiday in France, and so NovaCorp will not be in the office. And I believe that because it's also November 1st, they wanted to try to kick off the contest to kind of start in November, to run through the month of November. So if that's true, either they're going to be working on Tuesday, which I doubt, or Monday, sometime during Monday, we'll get that news. We'll get that announcement or whatever. And to coincide with that, I think that we may get some new sub-forums, or a sub-forum for fan fiction. So I think that would make the most sense to me, but you know, it might happen on Tuesday, it might happen sometime during the week. It's their contest at this point.
Nonetheless, it's exciting.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff. I know what like. There's going to be a name for the contest. Like they've got their own thing that they're doing. They've got their own prizes they're giving away. Of course, there'll be their own rules, and I don't know. Whenever it's announced, I think there's going to be a lot of exciting stuff. Or if you're into this kind of stuff, like lore and whatever, I think this will be the time to get in on it.
I'm not as much into it, but I know for sure my members are.
Yeah.
And trust me, once you know what the... Sorry.
Do you know if there's going to be any sort of minimum number of words or whatever for the contest, or is that yet to be released?
I believe that it will be 5 or 10,000 words, but my hunch is that it will be 5,000 words. So 5,000 word minimum, and you have to write it in 30 days, which is really not... It doesn't seem that hard compared to like the 50,000 word minimum that NaNoWriMo is. But when you realize what the prizes are that are being given away, I think that the contest is going to get a little more cutthroat as people start to write longer stories or compete with each other on the forums.
Well, of course, if there's a grand prize that is effectively amazing, we are going to shoot for it like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, don't even bother trying. I'm already gonna win it.
Don't question creative ingenuity.
Challenge accepted.
I don't know.
It shall
I think
be a duel then.
I think to myself, like, man, this doesn't seem that hard. And then I start thinking about my story, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's like a page. It's not very much.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Oh, you'll have a hard time challenging me. My members actually generated 6,000 words in a roleplay chat in Discord before just having fun.
Now you just have to
Master
turn that
Red?
into something cohesive.
Oh, I turned it into something half cohesive.
We'll make the other
Close
half.
enough.
If you don't mind my asking, what is the actual lore of Dewey Universe? Because all I've heard so far is technical stuff.
Oh yeah. Who wants to answer that question?
I'll go ahead this time.
Like,
So basically, the lore is back in about 2022. There was detected a neutron star forming. A neutron star formed. The bad news was that it was heading towards Earth. And so humanity devised a project to essentially launch arc ships or a arc ship into space that would serve as a vessel to save humanity and allow recolonization.
and then everyone just spreads out from there.
It's a very
Yeah.
simple lore.
Pretty much there should be
Well-
like hundreds of these arc ships spread around the universe over the course of 9,000 years that they've been traveling through space or whatever.
Something like
And then
that.
these arc ships crash landed into planets. This one specifically that we're focused around is the planet Alioth, and that's basically where it starts out. I mean, there's a story that they released that was written by Elaine DiMaggio. DiMaggio? Elaine. Am I saying his last name right? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes, Elaine Damasio. Anyways, he's a French sci-fi writer, and he wrote the first lore for the game, and that's basically where it starts out. Like, it's told from the perspective of someone who wakes up in the Ark ship, and like comes out of being frozen, and like, you know, his body is put back together or whatever, and there's this computer AI that's telling him like, hey, you have to go do these things. You have to leave the Ark ship and go out and start colonizing the planet. And then pretty much it's up to us to dictate the lore at that point.
Yes. Let's see. If I remember correctly, you mentioned that when you went to PAX, there was uh, when you were touring, looking at the Ark ship, because that's what you specifically asked for. There was actually a point which was mentioned in the lore that basically a spot on the Ark ship where there was actually a character model there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there's this part in the lore in the backstory that's like he goes and he's walking around in the Ark ship and he goes up to the upper floors and he walks out on this platform and he's overlooking like this vast horizon of the planet and looking at like, you know, people out in the distance doing things and buildings getting built, etc. But if you actually looked at the Ark ship in the game as it exists now, there's actually that platform that's up there, and there's a character model that's up there.
I'll link directly back to that story.
Yep.
Yep, they're just
That's
basically
kind of cool.
they're just basically saying, just giving an Easter egg for us. I wonder if it will be there in final release, though.
Yeah, he said he didn't. They say they were still going to work on it, like it was only a preliminary model.
Yeah, I thought I heard the Arc ship was just a placeholder for whatever they come up with. Because honestly, from what they've shown in the videos, it doesn't look big enough to hold like crap loads of people.
Exactly.
I agree with that. It has like all these like pillars and stuff which hold that many people. So
Yeah, there's still a lot to that. It is still in development after all.
yeah, that is true.
We'll just have to wait and see what they come up with. It'll be epic.
It certainly will be exciting.
No doubt about that.
Will undoubtedly be epic.
My question actually is completely unrelated to this topic, but thinking about what people will create in game, whether it be lore or all of this interesting stuff. What are we actually going to create out of the game? For instance, I'm pretty sure there are going to be people who are very dedicated who are going to create applications for specific in-game activities.
I would like a clock.
A clock?
Yeah, well, okay, so I know it's so simple. You think that like, oh yeah, it's stupid. Why would anybody make a clock? But it's kind of difficult to find the time in Eve Online. Like Eve Online has universal time. Um, Sometimes it's hard to figure out what time it is in game. Even things like EverQuest had an in-game clock, and there were ways to get that information out of game. But yeah, I would just like an app on my phone that's like, oh, it's this time in game.
Or like a galactic map.
Yeah, a map too.
That
The
is
map
the
might be-
simplest, kind of most interesting thing I've ever seen.
Although it could come in great handy in game.
Oh yeah.
The map might be a little tricky because it's kind of emergent gameplay and all. We'd be making it.
Yeah, I guess once the game gets big enough, it sort of looked like what No Man's Sky's map would look.
I kind of would like a tool to be able to browse markets in game. Maybe not buy stuff because I don't know if they would even allow that. But the ability to see like price trends.
That actually, I think that would be better developed as an external application.
Yeah,
Someone who's very ingenuitive. Although that might, depending on what you use, that might require an API, but or if you're just inputting everything manually. But that would definitely be cool.
I think the way that it worked in Eve is like when you went into a market in Eve, there was an option you could set in the settings that would export all the station prices for you automatically. So it would export into like text files, and then people had desktop tools that would read those text files and then upload the information to the internet. So if you
Now
wanted
that's
to
what you need.
contribute to this, like you weren't required to have this tool, but a lot of players did run this tool in the background that was automatically grabbing these prices and pushing them up online. So I think that's why when you go to like Eve Trader or like the Eve trading websites, the prices aren't necessarily that accurate because not everybody is running this tool. But of course, places that have more traders in them are going to be more accurate because more traders are running the tool.
Yeah, that's an export option for certain things would be very useful. Scripts,
Yes,
you know, there's quite a bit of potential here.
I think it may very well happen that people write tools to write the in-game Lua out of game. Like someone, even if somebody doesn't write an IDE, I think that imagine like somebody writing what do they call them?
Machinimas?
Syntax tools.
So
like if
scripts.
I run, well, not necessarily scripts, but like if I'm running Emacs or like VI or Sea Lion or like NetBeans or Visual Studio, that's an easy one. Someone would know. So Visual Studio, you could write the scripts that had the syntax bindings in them, so that when you're writing the Lua, that it would actually like format properly for you. You might have like code completion and stuff like that. Imagine tools like that being written because I don't know. I don't foresee them wanting to do that in game.
Oh no, of course not. Unless it's a very good in-game editor.
It just depends on how dedicated people are to it.
Yeah, I gotta say, it sounds pretty hard to do all the scripting while in the game client. That sounds like it would be pretty cumbersome.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being pretty painful.
I want people to start making more fan art, like real life art, paintings of ships and stuff.
That would be
Models.
useful.
Hey, 3D models are art. Come on.
Yeah. Well, if you could export the models out of game, it'd be awesome for people to be able to make their own 3D printed ships. Like if you sold
Well,
a
even
ship
like right
and-
now,
yeah,
I'm doing stuff in SketchUp right now.
I'd like to see the day come when somebody makes a ship in game that's so popular, it's like the standard trading ship or the standard fighting like fighter or whatever, and then they export it and they start, people start 3D printing these ships and whatever.
I can definitely see
I'm
that
sure that's
happening.
I can definitely see that
yeah.
happen.
Meanwhile, I'm currently creating an application to allow me manage stuff within organizations.
That sounds handy.
Oh, it's not quite complete. I'm just working on key encryption, but yes, I will overcomplicate things. You will see this application be a standard in the game, I hope. Someday.
If by overcomplicate you mean load with many useful features, then that's totally fine.
I think
Oh
that
yeah.
when the game hits alpha and like more people start playing it, that certainly more tools and stuff will be written, and a lot more stuff will be done by the community. Right now, it's kind of oddly quiet.
Yeah. Which is why what I'm doing right now is expected to be done, but not this early in the game.
What was
No,
it? Somebody
no,
said
pre-game.
they had over 8,000 backers, but how many people are active on the forums?
Something
Less
like
than 1,000.
1,600.
Yeah. So where are they? Where are those other 6,400 backers?
Probably
I-
waiting for the game to come out.
I'd like to know that myself. I need recruitment here. We all do.
Yeah, total forum members right now is at 3,464. So yeah.
Oh, and easily over, I'd say 80% of those are probably inactive or don't log on regularly.
Yeah.
Hell, I'm hardly active on the forums. Jesus.
Yeah, I feel like a stranger on the forums when I get on now. I see so many new people, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it I can see why people don't go to the forums is because a lot of the conversations have been repetitive. You see the same topics show up all the time, and at some point you're just like, I don't want to get involved in this anymore. This specific topic necessarily.
Free to play.
Well, you have all these new people coming in having the same brilliant ideas that everybody else had when they found the game and thought, "Oh, this is awesome."
Fortunately, I only had one of those, and that was economics and stuff, and just absolutely useless to say.
We can debate all we want, but we won't know till the game comes out.
Nope.
It's funny because there is so much still to debate about, and because what we've seen is just footage. We haven't seen like actual game skills in place. We don't know what the skill system is like. We don't know what the we do know what the skill system is like, but we don't know what the skills will necessarily be in the skill system.
No, we know that there'll be mining, construct building, basic stuff.
We don't really know how people are going to act in the game either. I would be led to believe that people in the game are not necessarily just going to set out to kill each other immediately on day one. I think that you'll see the first couple of days, at least in alpha, this is how I think it'll go. The first couple of days, people will be working together, learning the game, getting along, and then the killing will come.
Yeah.
That's how it was in H1Z1. I remember being able to walk around, or like even DayZ. Like people were generally nice to each other, but then once they realized like they could survive on their own and whatever, then that's when they started killing each other.
Unleash the dogs of war.
Yeah.
But what if you don't? What if you don't have the ability to go off on your own? Because what if they make it so that, say, I'm trying to think of an example. Like to make a gun. To make a gun, you need a whole lot of things, and to do all those things on your own would take a lot of time. Whereas you could just simply go to a place, mine some stuff, sell that stuff, then buy a gun. But if you're blacklisted for being constantly griefing and pirating, then just a thought.
Well, that's one thing that's going to be interesting because we all have this nanoformer in our arms that's supposed to be able to just create any intricate shape it feels like, or just blocks of material. And how much actual like raw iron is in a gun, right now is not very much. If you think about it, it's a couple pounds, but
I think that you
um,
won't necessarily be able to like make a gun straight away. You'll have to make like a forge or some sort of constructing machine that you use to form the gun or like actually produce those elements. I think at the beginning there will be some like basic rudimentary ones at the arc ship, but in the long run, like you'll gain the ability or the resources or skills or whatever to make those things on your own. But you will have to rely on the arc ship at the beginning to at least do some rudimentary stuff.
see, I can get that working out if they have like a skill level, and you have to be a certain skill level to make something intricate enough. But if you're just like plopping down an element that just forges everything, think of the complexity of like the circuitry in that is much more complex than the simple mechanisms in a firearm. You know what I mean? So if they have that tied to skill and you have to take stuff to the arc ship initially to do stuff, that makes sense. But to have it, yeah, you can plop down this complex element, but you can't make a gun would sound a little bit funny, at least in my head.
Yep, I think you're right.
Yeah, that wouldn't quite work. Wait. Hmm. All right.
Everyone's talkative this week.
I'm currently trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing. So I'm just going to explain the premise of, for instance, the application that I'm making right now, just to kind of give you all an idea of what people want to do in the game. Currently, what I'm doing is making an application that stores member data, Discord ID, forum ID, game name, name. It even generates a unique ID for them. And so what this does is essentially allow you to track players, and in the future will allow you to store more intricate data, for instance, ranks, organizations that they're listed, and so forth. So if someone really wanted to do, something complicated, they could possibly just track every single person on the forums. It is possible with the system that I am using.
Well, the person who's using that would probably have a great deal of power.
Oh, no doubt. Which is
Yeah,
why
I
I'm not
would.
going to give this away for free, of course.
That's a very good
I
idea.
would. I would say be careful with that because as soon as people start tracking IP addresses and making like alt finders and all this stuff, it starts to take a lot of fun out of the game. Just like people saying, "Oh, you're also this guy, so I'm going to grief you because you shot my ship."
Yes, it's a very dangerous technology. But it's not like someone else won't make it in time, anyways.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
Why use a VPN?
Yeah, the good thing about the forum right now is that unless you do something, get a user's IP outside of the forum, or just get them get them to tell you their IP, you can't quite track them so easily. But there's still ways to, of course, abuse the system. And we take that risk by adding, tools anyways. Any tool can be used to gain power. This kind of depends on which tool you're using, how much power you are going to gain.
Yeah, I'm putting my efforts into writing.
Don't worry, I'll get to that here eventually.
And trying to help more people feel involved. That's what I would like to focus on, is helping people to feel more involved. If not be more involved, but just feel like they're actually contributing in some way.
Yep.
I think this contest will really help. I think. Oh well, you'll see. You'll see it in due time. I think by the end of the week, everybody will be arguing with each other over writing.
Oh, we're arguing before that. You don't need to add that to make an argument.
One thing I've been having a lot of fun with is messing around with just concepts for like ship designs in 3D modeling software. I personally use SketchUp, but I know a lot of people are using things like Blender and another one that has voxels. I forget the name of it, but I mean it's cool. You get your ideas out on, I guess the digitals, not really paper, but and you can like inform your designs based on other people's stuff. And I know we have no idea how anything is going to work out with the editor, but it's still kind of fun to do.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for someone to make Battlestar Galactica, and that's all I need.
I'll just be happy with someone building the Enterprise. That's all I
Which one? Because that's a pretty important question.
Yeah, there are a lot of Enterprises. I'd like them to either build the D or the E.
Will the saucer come off?
Well,
Of course.
that really would only happen with the Enterprise D, but I would be happy if they actually added that.
There's a lot of things that we want them to add.
I have the Star Trek technical manuals. I've got a couple of them. And yeah, I'd like to see people get that detailed with their organizations. People think they're detailed, but like, grab one of the Star Trek technical manuals or like training manuals or whatever. There's so much detail in the Star Trek universe.
Oh,
Detail? You do not know such detail until you have seen what I have created.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of detail in what people create. I mean, some of my designs, I'm working on one right now in SketchUp that's a good 400 or 500 meters long at least, carrier, and it's going to be pretty huge. And I don't even know if we're going to have that kind of parts for a while, but I'm still designing it because it's fun.
I don't necessarily mean detail of ships. I mean like Star Trek, as in like the Federation. If you look at like all the materials that are out there for like the rules of the Federation, how they get trained, the different levels that they have to go to, what all their insignia looks like. Like there's even stuff in there for like how their uniforms are made, and there's like patterns that you could like, scale up and make your own Star Trek uniforms. It's insane how much detail they put into these manuals.
Yeah, I've actually implemented some of that into my organization that I've been building in Dual Universe so far, which is the League of Freedom. So I have like, for me, my system actually it doesn't go as in far depth as like uniform creation, but it goes up to like moving up the ranks of the military and moving up the ranks of like the council or like stuff like that.
I think that this contest will really open that up too. I think people will be excited about doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
One thing that I would like to see happen in the contest is people to kind of I don't know what the term here is. I don't know if it's necessarily working together, but maybe incorporating other people's stories into their own stories, or like other characters or other names or place names or whatever. Just kind of making all their stories. Yeah.
A metaverse, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think part of that can be via the new subforum where I guess once it gets created, we could probably instigate that by making a post about, say your name and that sort of thing, and so that, and kind of the basic idea behind your thing, so that other people can include you in their story.
Yeah, certainly.
So what are you guys going to write about?
Well,
Possibly pre-arc ship era.
I actually started writing something in anticipation, but now that I realize it has to be about DU, I'm gonna have to rethink it. But I might do something with space battles and crazy politics and intrigue and all that fun stuff.
yeah. Before I even knew this contest existed, I've started writing a story about Dual Universe already before I knew this contest. So far, what I've got, just I get into a bunch of space battles and everything. Too exciting, but I think it does have a chance of getting some.
Personally, I'm gonna create the cult of Marx.
I'm going to be writing the backstory for the Meru religion, and
Yeah.
it may not necessarily take place pre-arc ship.
Actually, you could probably get pretty in depth with that. I just had an idea. I'm gonna stop talking.
Inspiration.
Inspiration is quite amazing. Let's see. Uh, let's see. There hasn't been much news recently, but or theories going around, but there is a little bit of kind of let's say the interesting of inactivity. After the Kickstarter, it's been kind of interesting to watch how things have fallen down.
Well, that tends to happen with Kickstarters. Like a developer puts literally everything they've got into the Kickstarter, which usually has about a month, and they take a bit of time off to rest.
Yep.
Don't worry, Alpha's coming.
I hope
Yeah.
I hope it comes sooner than its release date is. I'm really excited.
I doubt it's that. Games never come earlier than they are scheduled to nowadays.
Yes, I understand that. It's just, even though I know this, I still wish it will.
My guess is April. I would say April or May.
That almost sounds optimistic, which is saddening. It's saddening that it has to be optimistic to think maybe it'll come around this time.
Yeah.
I wanted it to come in May. That way it's here for my birthday.
Hey,
Yeah,
I was
same
about
here.
I was about to say the same thing about April.
I wanted to come tomorrow, but
Well, yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Merry Christmas. Here's Alpha. Oh my God. Yeah, that would never happen.
But it'll be amazing if it did, nonetheless.
Yeah, are you
Agreed.
trying reverse
This is true.
psychology? You almost sound like you are.
They should give us a Christmas present.
Maybe like a
You really should.
little single-player builder. That would be pretty.
The Christmas present should be snow in Dual Universe. But it has to actually be snowing.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't weather, because you can't.
Yeah, I heard that they're actually planning on implementing.
Yes, they are, but it's a bit more difficult than you would think. So we might. Was it planned on release or not?
I don't know if it's planned for release.
I kind of doubt it. Weather patterns are pretty tricky to simulate in real life, so
That's
making a
why I was
whole
thinking.
weather pattern for a planet. I think that's planned for one of those later releases things.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
I'm alright.
But at least some sort of like visual effect of like a. Have you ever played Kerbal Space Program?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You know,
I love that game.
You know the Eve mod, how it sometimes has like clouds and weathers, and you know it's just the exact same thing rotating around the planet slightly faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Like something quite simple.
Well,
That
I
would be
guess
beneficial.
I guess you could do that and have like various different types of weather tailored to various latitudes or whatever. That might work out.
Yeah, that possibly could.
Although they have to make that effect rotate with the planet too, because I've heard instead of making the sun move around the planets, they're actually keeping the sun static and
Yeah, that's what
Well,
they're going to do at some point. We don't know if it's at release or not.
Well, the planets
well,
won't orbit the sun.
for the weather stuff, it's pretty. You just make the weather patterns rotate faster than the planet or slower than the planet, so that you have the effect of it moving across.
I don't
Yeah.
even think that the weather pattern needs to be static like that. I think that it can just kind of spawn spontaneously or randomly. There will just be weather that starts and moves, and then as it moves away, it just kind of disappears. But it doesn't necessarily have to follow like, okay, this is the way the wind is blowing, and this is like, the temperature here, and this is the humidity here, etc.
No one's expecting a meteorological simulator.
Yeah,
No.
that's
And
asking way
and
too
wind
much.
wind would also be a very hard thing to simulate in a game like that. It would be very server intensive, I think.
very.
Extreme intensity.
Is there this is sort of an off topic, but is there like lift and drag? Like is that something planned?
Uh,
I don't think it is, but it certainly be.
That's another thing that would be really hard to do with the voxel engine, because you have to calculate all that based on the shape of the craft and whatever. And I know there's mods for Kerbal Space Program that do it, but I
There's
don't
also
think
a
they
mod.
make the
It
game run any smoother.
it's in the base game.
Well, it's in the base game, but that's on a per part basis, and you don't have so much parts in DU. It's voxels, so that's the thing for things like pressurized interiors in space and that sort of thing. You'd have to model it based on the shape of the ship, and when you have a voxel thing, you have to run all sorts of volumetric calculations and all this stuff just to figure out if it can be pressurized or not, and that kind of gets tricky.
yeah.
Sort of like
A little like Space Engineers. I mean, it's not difficult, quote unquote, in theory, but it takes quite a lot when you're actually getting down to calculations and optimizing them as well.
The other thing about Space Engineers is they do have parts, and they can tell if this part is connected to that part or if it's not. And with just pure voxel, that's going to be trickier.
Yeah, the calculations would be exponential.
Yeah, they certainly won't get easier.
at all.
And then, of course, if you have a big battle and people get holes blown in their stuff, then you have to have constant calculations. Did this shot break the seal? No, good. If it did, then whoops. And that just slows everything down, and then you have time dilation, and you have a 20-minute battle lasting 5 hours, and all that fun stuff.
If
There's
you
a
want a
reason
game
why
like
Space
that,
Engineers is barely runnable.
you
Yeah.
should try Space Station 13. Because that game calculates air pressure inside of the space station, and like when major things happen, like a black hole opens up and eats up half the station, the lag on the server just makes it almost unplayable.
Isn't that 2D too?
Yeah, it's only 2D.
Ouch. Yeah, I think we want to. I don't think we want that yet. Maybe when we have quantum computers, I don't know.
Well, quantum
No.
computers aren't actually that good at that sort of thing.
Yeah, they aren't good at. They're good at calculations. I mean,
Yeah, they're good at lists too. But like a
But,
quantum computer chip will never replace a normal computer chip. You'll probably just have like 2 slots for your CPUs, your quantum CPU and your normal CPU.
yeah, because quantum computing is absolutely very difficult, and it also works for completely different purposes. Like running through a large databases, you'd probably find racks of quantum computers. Running through your standard game, you'd probably use a regular CPU. But there is actually a problem that is we're actually getting close to the point where our CPU processors, basically we're reaching a point where the barriers that keep the electrons from flowing are getting about to the size of one atom. And once that happens, we got some problems.
I thought that already happened.
It's
like I heard the military made like a 9 nanometer CPU.
It's
start using
pretty
carbon
dang close.
nanotubes or something.
No, the problem is we're getting to the point where we can't really control the flow of electrons because they start acting like waves more than they start acting like particles.
Oh.
And yeah,
that's how small we're getting, where the laws of physics tend to change.
Yeah.
I guess you can't get much smaller than atomic scale, can you?
No.
Atoms are so small.
But they've done things like figure out how to like stack chips on top of each other and like do. Yeah, it's an extremely complicated problem. That's why I didn't go into electrical engineering.
Yeah, eventually it's going to be 3D chips, and that's going to be a whole nother level of craziness.
Yeah. Electrical engineering back a couple years and years and years ago, back in the 50s or so, was an interesting endeavor and much more simpler. Back then it was complicated, but to us now it's pretty simple. That was the time to actually get into electrical engineering because, well, now basically what happened back then doesn't really apply too much today. The basic mechanics do, but you can't really do much about that. And then you'd still make a pretty good living on basic stuff. Specifically, I have a grandfather. He works in electrical engineering and has done all this. He started back in the 50s or so, and when he was doing this, he basically had a good career and a good living. And he didn't have to learn every single little thing that we have to do today.
Yeah, it's a layer problem. Like, the problems only get more complex, and they rely on knowing the underlying
little bits of information.
Everything that is built up to lead to that. I mean, it's not the same with like computer programming. Like, you don't need to know how to do binary in order to write websites, and you don't need to know how to do punch cards to write programs nowadays. It's just knowledge that's been built on to other knowledge, and we don't necessarily need to know all of it to get things done.
When you do, you've gone into a different realm now. Really different realm of computer science.
Although that may be fundamental computer science. It depends on how you would define computer science. Like, is computer science really about programming? Not really.
No.
It's more about the math.
Yeah, this is still programming. It's just when you've gone really far down, you've hit the fundamentals. When you're modifying binary in computer programs or trying to program an assembly.
Anyways, I feel like we're going off topic here.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
I don't know what rant we just went off into, and I know it was started by me.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to say that we're getting off topic.
Something about networking, and then
Yeah.
I really have no clue what we were talking about.
We don't have much news to talk about in Dual Universe is the problem.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so next week when we do next week's episode, and this contest has been announced and everybody is like writing stories, I think that there will be probably a little bit more to talk about too, because once you know what the grand prize is, yeah,
Oh dear.
once that news comes out, you guys are going to be very happy, very very happy.
I bet there's going to be some forum drama going on about that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
a little.
Again,
Isn't there
guys,
forum
sorry,
drama going on?
sorry in advance for taking away the grand prize.
Doubt it.
Good
Oh, well.
luck to everyone.
Yeah. We're all going to need it, and none of us are probably going to get it.
I don't think I'm judging. I'm pretty sure. I mean, if I was running the contest, I would have been judging, but I'm not. So, yeah.
I just feel bad for the poor sop who's gonna have to read through like hundreds of
I mean-
basically hundreds of shit stories because you know there's gonna be that many.
One good one.
I submitted about $500, maybe it was like $400 worth of games to the contest because I wanted to run a writing contest on my own, but now I think they're just giving away the prizes that I've submitted to the prize pool.
Yeah.
And I would have been happy
Yeah,
to
I'm
give
up.
away like alpha keys for the game, but I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, man,
So
you're my
it's- I
hero
just-
right now.
So I don't think we're allowed to give them away.
Well, that just means you have to do it quietly.
Hey, actually, if anyone watches this, I do not want to be accused of giving away alpha keys.
I feel kind of bad for not kickstarting it now.
Ew, I wish I could.
Yep. Yep, I just can't wait till we actually get our Kickstarter titles. That will be nice.
Yeah, I think they're just waiting on Kickstarter to send them the money so that they can actually collect the information from us, like our shipping addresses.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Does anyone know how much it's gonna cost a month? Is it like gonna be $10, $20?
15.
I think they said like
13.
10, 15.
That's
13
pretty-
point some.
I know a
like-
DAC is $18, so it costs more to buy a DAC than it does to just pay a subscription.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's as it should be.
Yeah, I think so too. Right?
Like,
Yeah,
like
but-
here, if you want to make loads of in-game money off of, real life money, you got to pay a bit more for it. Have fun.
Like those EVE ships that are worth thousands of real in-game dollars.
Yeah, well, those are Titans, and they're just ridiculous.
No, those are testing to see who has the life and who doesn't.
Or who's a whale and
That
who isn't.
Because
I don't
if
think
you
in Dual Universe there will be a ton of big ships. I think that, there will be big ships, but I don't think they're going to be like all over the place. I think when you see a lot of them, you're going to know like either there's a massive battle going down or some shit's about to go down or something.
Yeah,
Dun
but,
dun
Or-
dun 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 dun.
yeah,
That's
That or
the-
someone just wants to show off.
fleet of huge battle cruisers. I'd fly the other direction. Not their mind. In which case, I fly right.
That pretty much ensures I'll be rolling about in one, man.
There will be space battles if they can really handle the scale and the servers can really handle the load of all those ships and everything. I think we're going to see battles in game that rival the description of like EVE Online even. Like it's going to be a totally different experience.
Well, the thing with EVE Online is that
nothing.
Well, the thing with EVE Online is that, like, the ships are not player scaled, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah,
a Titan, like a Titan in EVE Online is absolutely huge. It has literally like tens of thousands of people manning it,
Yeah, theoretically.
and like, what?
Yeah, in EVE lore. I also think I've talked about this. I've definitely talked about this before, but I think battles in Dual Universe are going to be the experience of being in a battle is going to be much different than anything we've ever really had the ability to have. Like having multiple people on a ship, and the fact that you aren't going to see your ship necessarily from a third person perspective, so you'll be participating in these giant Eve scale battles from a first person perspective of say like being on the bridge of the ship or even being in the engine room of a ship. Like it's a different experience. It's
It's
kind of
gonna
why
be
I
all kinds of nutty, and it's gonna
yeah.
be frantic and crazy and just it's gonna be
I would
awesome.
prefer being on the bridge.
Well, we all would prefer being on bridge instead of in the engine room waiting our sweet, sweet death in the battle.
Well, you
That is,
think so? Have you ever played Pulsar? Because
Oh yeah.
no.
Pulsar like kind of reminds me, or it doesn't remind me, but it makes me think of what dual universe will be like. The fact that like you're working with other people and like if you're the engineer, sometimes you're just stuck in the engine room constantly managing the power for your ship, even though like and it can be frantic in itself. Like it's a whole gameplay experience in itself just to be frantic and like trying to get everything working.
Oh yeah. That it Pulsar is one of the funnest memories you can have, honestly, because you have no idea what's going on unless your crew members are communicating with you. It's basically like re- it's basically like a game of telephone at some points too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't see how anyone's gonna be able to play universe in a multiplayer way without some form of voice chat. That's gonna be kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yep. Whether it be
Although
in game or just someone communicating with you through TeamSpeak.
at some point in time though you're going to have to know how to manage your or make decisions on your own. Like if you're the engineer, you're not necessarily being told everything you should be doing by the captain. Like you should just know what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, yeah, sure, but at some point you also might have like, ooh, we got incoming fire. Looks like we're getting, just like the
Yeah,
guys who
yeah,
have the view of the thing might be saying, hey, heads up, you might want to run over here and try to fix this before it breaks, kind of thing.
yeah. Or even like getting a report. Like if your engineers are in some part of one part of your ship and the other half of your ship gets a hole blown in it, they might not know that, so they have to be told to go there to go fix it.
Yep. Uh, while there isn't any ships actually getting holes blown in them in Pulsar, there are definitely ships that you see. Oh no, there's a crew on board our ship, and that's a crucial moment for people to report on. If someone stays silent, you're in trouble. Speaking from experience.
Speaking from experience, though, not many games do people actually ever talk in. It's bizarre. Like games where you think you actually have to talk. Like I've been playing a lot of Battlefield 1 lately, and hardly anybody ever talks in game. So the squads are just like hectic and random.
Very good.
And and yet so many games are just so much funner and easier to play when you have a good crew that's on voice chat. And I really
Oh
hope that
yeah.
Payday,
this
for
game kind of
instance.
brings that out.
That's
Oh
why I set
yeah.
up my Discord channel for League of set up actual voice for active.
Weren't you saying, Yama, that the other day whenever you played with me and can't I think it was Wardian, it was the furthest you've ever gotten or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, it's the furthest we've ever gotten in the game, and yeah, I keep saving the game and we go back
Teamwork.
to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wardian's a good captain.
And that was
Yeah.
my first time ever playing it.
Mm-hmm.
There are
Teamwork is
like
a very crucial.
it's an early access game, so there are some boring moments in the game, I will admit. But otherwise, like when you're in the heat of a battle and like you're trying to organize and I don't know, there can be some really fun moments in the game too, and that's why I play it. Like just like Eve.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't really think of any other. I think Dual Universe, especially. I think it's going to be more of a mix between Space Engineers, Massive Multiplayer Online, and Pulsar. That's what I am imagining it to be.
With a healthy helping of Eve thrown in too.
Oh, no doubt.
Especially if we get a big gang of Russians.
I honestly believe once alpha hits and people actually see that the game works and things start to scale up, that the community is going to grow quite large and the game will be. I think it'll launch in a very healthy state.
Oh yeah,
Right.
like space engineers will probably just like be a memory, like distant memory, and I don't know, we might pull some Eve people in too, just because they can design their own stuff. That's one of the big factors for me is being able to design my own ships because I love that sort of thing.
I also like the idea of like mass manufacturing ships too. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm the Henry Ford of spaceships, you know.
I like the idea of exploring, getting in a spaceship and just heading out into the distance.
Yeah,
going out for months
That's
at a
gonna be
time.
my thing.
For me, I'm very excited for the space battles.
Is there in person, like first person combat?
Yes, that'll be there at release. But like I can't. I don't know what the combat will look like, but I know that person versus person combat will exist. Construct versus construct combat will not be there. Maybe it will come in the first release or first expansion.
Yeah. Which is fine because we don't need construct versus construct combat at the beginning. While it would be nice to explore, it doesn't really matter. It's going to take a while to get to it anyways.
Also, this may be a stupid question, but what's a construct?
The thing built in the game.
A
Anything-
construct is basically anything you build out of voxels anywhere. It could be a building, a ship, it doesn't matter. The game recognizes anything a player builds out of voxels as a construct, and as such, you need a core unit of the type large enough to support the size of craft you want to make, or maybe you need a bunch of core units, depending on how crazy you are. And the cool thing is, the thing that makes it a ship or a building or a space station is where it is and how many engines it's got on it.
Yeah, it makes it quite exciting.
An element, on the other hand, is something not designed by players. So, like, the engine might be an element, or like a computer console might be an element, etc.
Anything that's prefabricated.
Surface of a planet.
Not really. I think planets are their own thing, although they kind of act like constructs. Like, in theory, the way they described it, if you had enough engines on, like, say, an asteroid, because that would be the smallest, I suppose a planet too, but if you had enough engines on an asteroid, in theory, you would be able to move it, but it would take a ton of power to do it.
Yeah. Similar to battle cruiser power.
I guess I should start redesigning my battlecruisers.
I want to know if there's a weight ratio too. Like, you have such big engines that they require giant fuel pods for them, but the fuel pods weigh down the ship too. And, the more fuel you need to carry, the bigger engine you need, etc., etc.
And then your engines just end up getting huge.
Or
Well,
do you need more engines?
in that vein, I'm kind of hoping we have like better efficiencies than Kerbal Space Program realistic type stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I mean,
if you have Kerbal Space
I
Program efficiencies, we won't be going anywhere.
yeah, like I hope we need fuel because that would be awesome. But I certainly hope it's not at that kind of level.
I hope it gives a role to the engineers though. So like engineers needing to route power around a ship in order to they're using their fuel to power the engines more than they are using it to power lights inside the ship or something like that. Kind of
Well, I
dictating
guess
what.
part of that could also be like routing power to the engines versus routing power to the shields or the processors if you've got some heavy scripted ship or something. Like it might be too expensive to power everything equally, so you might want, if you're moving, you want power to the engines, and if you're in the middle of a battle and you're relatively still, you want power to the shields and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. That would be correct.
That's where you need a good engineer. I mean, we know that like for faster than light drives, like warp drives, you'll need an engineer or a couple of engineers dedicated, at least one person dedicated to doing nothing but maintaining the warp drive. That's what they do is they sit in the ship and they sit like in the engine room and they maintain the warp drive, the warp whatever. At least that's what we were told that the goal was.
Hopefully they make it some sort of fun little mini game or something where you gotta like balance this and that and whatever instead of just having some little thing you just slide back and forth or whatever.
Quick time events in previous games haven't exactly been the best things.
Yeah, depending on the type of game, it really feels out of place. Yama, you know what I'm talking about, but it would be actually interesting if to reroute power and so forth, it would be a system that shares some similarities maybe to hack mode. Possibly. That would be quite interesting.
Hackmud is a unique game.
It's absolutely amazing. I just completed the tutorial not that long ago.
Once you break out of the tutorial, then the game is totally different. Do you want to describe what Hackmud is?
Oh god. So HackMud is a hacking simulator. It's literally a hacking simulator that puts you against all these different types of scripts, and you can basically try to hack the players and NPCs in game once you pass the tutorial, which is absolutely amazing as well. It is one of the most unique games. It feels at a certain niche.
So
Like,
it's kind of like a modern uplink, if anyone
Yeah.
remembers that game.
It's
Oh,
like a
yeah.
multiplayer uplink.
Pretty
and-
much.
And the way that you can buy tools, but otherwise you can also write tools. So the tools that you write are all written in JavaScript, and what dictates your scripts is like you have to upgrade your equipment so that you can write longer scripts, or so you can store more scripts.
And depending on what you want to write in your script, it's just, it fills a niche in the community that is honestly, in gaming world, that's just kind of amazing.
You end up writing scripts to like break into firewalls and stuff, and like the firewalls are not real firewalls, they're in-game firewalls, but you're writing these scripts to solve these puzzles, and like you have 500 characters that you have to write a script in, and people have written scripts like in 500 characters that can solve like 8 different kinds of firewalls. And if you're just coming into JavaScript or whatever, you might take 500 characters to just write a script that can solve one firewall. So of course the more efficient things are more sought out in the game, and people sell them for in-game money, etc.
And then there's those kind of extraordinary people that create absolutely extraordinary things. For instance, there are casinos in the game.
There's an eBay in the game.
There is a social networking site in the game.
All created by players.
Yes.
All player created.
They should do one of those for Lua.
I have a feeling players are going to get creative. But dang. His hack mode is kind of amazing.
And hack mode is, of course, one of the prizes that I'm giving away for this contest. So it's not as exciting as some of the other prizes, but
it fills that niche in the community that you absolutely need. You don't know you need it yet, but you need it. I love some of the reviews on the hack mode page as well. This game is not for people who are not smart. If you are not smart, do not play this game. If you think you are smart, play this game and be proven wrong by the tutorial. If you actually get past the tutorial, meet some smart people and absolutely get destroyed.
Nice.
It's absolutely brilliant.
When it first came out, it was really laggy because there were a ton of people trying to get on it, and it wasn't really designed to scale. So I've seen, but it's still a super fun game. Definitely a niche game.
I'd love to give it a go eventually, see what it's like. It just reminds me a little too much of work.
Well, at the same time, it reminds Yama of work too.
Yeah, tell me about it. Anyways,
Yeah.
So we're at an hour here on this episode.
And we've talked about pretty much everything, a lot of it not DUExplorers related.
Yeah. Well, you know, next week's episode we'll be able to cover the contest.
I cannot wait until then.
It's funny because I think everybody in this chat knows what the contest results are, or what the grand prize is. And
if we knew what contest
I
results
don't.
were.
well, any
Some
stay
of us
tuned till after.
do.
Yeah, stay on for after
I
the
don't know what the
episode.
prize is.
It's just funny to me that a lot of people here know what it is, and nobody can actually say what it is. Anyways,
It's a blueberry cupcake.
yes,
Oh my god, I've always wanted one of those.
it's actually macarons from Paris. Anyways,
Yeah,
I'm gonna-
they're from Paris with love.
I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode, unless you guys have anything else you want to cover.
No.
Good.
A bit here.
Shall we list the sign off?
Alright. I believe we'll start with Kaiman and work our way down.
Laters, peeps.
Goodbye.
Master Eclipse signing off.
I, Master Ed, and I bid you all farewell.
I'm Thor, and thank you for being here. Goodbye.
Wilkes Chekhov signing off, and can I not wait to see you in the game.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Suyamamushi. Guess we'll catch everyone next week.
Now should be a